ladies and gentlemen, we move on to a very important session next. Coming up is a session on atrial fibrillation from A to Z. Our first speaker is on atrial fibrillation in India. Is it tide rising or tsunami? May I invite Dr. Sarita Gulati, Senior Consultant Interventional Cardiologist at the Metro Heart Institute in New Delhi.
Dr. Gulati, please. I think atrial fibrillation is a very common problem these days, and if you go by the statistics, it's more than 1% of the general population. And if you look at the recently concluded ESC, I think the Search AF trial with the new technology, iPhone mediated documentation of AF from the pharmacy, they're trying to screen and find out asymptomatic population. So I think it's worthwhile seeing the registry data, and let's see how this could be extrapolated in terms of management. Thank you.
Good evening, respected chairpersons, ladies and gentlemen. Atrial fibrillation, by far the most common supraventricular arrhythmia encountered in clinical practice, is characterized by disorganized atrial desynchronization, which leads to high frequency fibrillatory waves. And fortunately, not all of them get transmitted into the ventricles because of the natural check at the AV level. And what we get on the ECG is no regular atrial or P wave activity and a irregular ventricular or R wave response. Hemodynamically, this translates into a major phenomena consequence, that is the atrial contribution to the cardiac output becomes nil, and this is very important in the elderly subset. Patient presents to us with the symptoms of palpitations, dizziness, shortness of breath, and decreased exercise tolerance. This is one arrhythmia which will impact all aspects of quality of life, be it physical endurance, your mental or the emotional well-being of the patient. It is said that the occurrence of atrial fibrillation leads to doubling of the risk of mortality in both younger as well as the older age groups, and this applies equally to men and women. Most of the deaths are attributed to the cardiovascular causes. In Europe, it is estimated that 20% of the strokes or the CVAs are related to the atrial fibrillation, and this rises tremendously in people who are elderly age group. Further, it is estimated that the elderly people with AF are at 5 times increased risk of stroke or CVA as compared to people with normal sinus rhythm. And what is much more important is that the stroke associated with atrial fibrillation is not only more severe, more disabling, but more lethal also. It leads to the increased morbidity and mortality in patients already having low EF and congestive heart failure, and also could be the cause of new occurrence of heart failures in given subsets. What is tremendous burden on the healthcare costs is the repeated hospitalization associated with this condition and the stroke management, which leads to incremental healthcare costs. Now, many factors have been associated with the condition, supposed to be the causative factors or the comorbid condition, but I will like to say that the aging process is the most important concept out of these. Western data shows the hypertensive heart disease is the most common comorbid condition associated with atrial fibrillation, and closely followed by cardiovascular disease, lung diseases, and so on. With each adding risk factor, the risk of developing atrial fibrillation is increased, and if we have a look at the people who more than 85 years of the age group as compared to the middle age group, the incidence rises tremendously. Now, there are few figures to draw home the point that the prevalence and the morbidity associated with condition is so high that it is said that if in a 70 years old woman the risk of developing breast cancer is 1 in 70, then in people more than 40 years of the age, the lifetime risk of developing atrial fibrillation is as high as 1:4, and this risk remains high even if CHF or old MI is absent. So such is the tremendous burden on the atrial fibrillation which can be there in the coming years. In a particular patient, we can just have a idea about how the AF can progress. Heart failure and TIA or the previous strokes are important factors to consider in that. Western populations, various studies have put the prevalence from 1 to 2.5%, and this you can see that boils down to large burden on the, as far as the general population, general prevalence is concerned. It is said that in Western population, men are more affected than women. Some racial differences between the Asian and the Caucasian people have been put forward by Bradford AF database, which states that the Asian people are the incidence is lower and men and women are equally affected. But what is much more striking is as the age group crosses 50 years, the prevalence of AF increases strikingly. There is a striking increase in the prevalence. North American data projected numbers are that by 2050, the prevalence of AF is going to increase by 2.5 to 3 folds as compared to 1995. And that means a huge burden on the healthcare cost, given the morbidity and mortality associated with this chronic condition. Western Europe shows similar dismal figures. As far as the Indian data is concerned, we don't have much of the large epidemiological studies to guide us. Some of these studies like RELISE or RELAY, which had a Indian sub-study, they showed some light on the etiology factors and some epidemiological data regarding the atrial fibrillation in AF. They said that the valvular heart disease, particularly the rheumatic heart disease, come up as a major causative factors in patients developing atrial fibrillation. And IHRS, the Indian Heart Rhythm Society AF data, also puts valvular heart disease at the #1 causative factor. It is an ongoing registry. The results will be soon there. This is closely followed by increasing incidence of hypertension, which contributes to the atrial fibrillation, and coronary artery disease, diabetes mellitus. Diabetes mellitus and obesity, these are the newer risk factors being identified for the atrial fibrillation causation. Further, we see that the Indian people are 10 years younger than their Western population, and then they have a equal gender distribution. As we find in Western people, men are more affected. I think the basic more occurrence of rheumatic heart disease is the basic reason behind this difference. Now, what we are seeing is, most of the time what we are talking about is the symptomatic atrial fibrillation. So we are just looking at the tip of the iceberg, and we are just not seeing the large chunk of burden of asymptomatic AF patients which are not visible to our eyes. And it has been seen that the asymptomatic patients, though they may be associated with less severe cardiac conditions, but the condition is equally important, because as far as the stroke risk is concerned, as far as the decrease in the quality of life indices are concerned. So in the end, I will like to say that what is appearing as a tide to us can soon become a tsunami. The reasons to it are manifold. The life expectancy of our population is increasing. As the primary mortality with conditions like myocardial infarctions is decreasing, the incidence of congestive heart failure, hypertensive heart disease, that is on the rise. We are a country going to be called as a diabetic capital of world. So diabetes is another newer risk factor for the atrial fibrillation. So what should the focus should be, that we need to identify these patients as early as possible. ECG is a simple tool to know whether our patient has atrial fibrillation or not. Then educate the patient and the family regarding the condition, the comorbidity and the stroke risk associated with it. Go for, tell them about all the therapeutic options available to us, and try to use all the options to the best optimal management of our patients. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gulati.